Hey, what's going on, everybody? Great to see you on this Monday. Hope we're all having a wonderful start to the week, although probably a bit of a rocky start as this storm system continues to work up the East Coast. And I can guarantee you, some folks down in the coastal areas of South Carolina and North Carolina yesterday are going to remember this one for a while, as we had some communities get more than a foot of rainfall within only a couple of hours. And I can tell you from personal experience, I was down there storm chasing, and a lot of places had flooding in so many different areas that almost got trapped there just trying to get out. So again, a storm that is going to be remembered for a while, and quite an unusual storm for December. Again, it's not often we see these kind of hybrid subtropical looking storms right up the East Coast in December, and not bring any snow, but bring plenty of flooding and wind and all sorts of other problems that we had yesterday. Now, again, the storm system is still causing problems right now as well, so we do have to discuss that as it's moving off through the northeast. And on the backside, we will have some festive flakes, and for some folks, even more than just festive, impactful snow showers and snow squalls moving on through this afternoon and evening. So we'll definitely break all that down in today's video. Now, also, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. We're getting very close to 4,000 here, and I'd love to get there before the month is over. We're only a couple hundred away, so again, definitely consider doing that. Also, like the video if you like it. Comment, let me know what you saw yesterday or what you're seeing out there right now as the storm system continues to impact plenty of people. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into your forecast. Now, starting off with satellite imagery, our storm system is not very hard to find right now. You'll notice here it is spinning away over sections of the northeast and bringing with it this big kind of tail of moisture on the front side of it. And this is extending all the way down towards the Bahamas and Cuba. Just to put into perspective how large the storm system is, a lot of folks still seeing impacts from this. And again, it's going all the way down the Atlantic seaboard, although luckily kind of a fish storm for most of this right-hand side of it being off in the Atlantic Ocean. So that's kind of the good news, but unfortunately, again, still seeing impacts inland up into New England. Now, taking a look at current watches, warnings, advisories, and precipitation out there, you'll notice we've still got a big shield of rain ongoing through the northeast as we have this continued flow inland off the Atlantic, bringing some flooding concerns as well as breezy conditions along the coastline. Now, outside of there, we still also have breezy conditions back down Appalachia from North Carolina up through Virginia and even into areas outside of the mountains, down into the Midlands of South Carolina and up into kind of the DMV area, still seeing those gusty winds this afternoon as well. Now, we also do have some snowy conditions ongoing or likely to begin soon with winter weather advisories for much of eastern Kentucky, southern Ohio, and even winter storm warnings for other areas, kind of down here into the southwestern coastline of Michigan, into northern Indiana, Great Lake regions from Buffalo up towards Cleveland seeing some winter storm warnings, and even the higher peaks of West Virginia having those winter storm warnings issued as well. For a very impactful snow event on the way through today and into tomorrow. All right, let's kind of time out the rest of this event for the Northeast, who's still seeing the brunt of the impacts, and then we'll take a look at the snowfall impacts, and then we'll end the video out by taking a quick sneak peek at that Christmas forecast and what could be in store to kind of round out the rest of the year here. All right, so taking a look here at current kind of what we're seeing out there. Again, a lot of rain still falling here through sections of the Northeast from New York State back down towards Pennsylvania, but really the heaviest of the rain now working into New England from Connecticut up through Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, seeing most of the rainfall. Now, one thing that we will have to watch for, much like we saw in South Carolina yesterday, is kind of training of these bands of heavy rainfall. That's exactly what caused problems yesterday in the southeast, is just these very heavy areas of rain just coming off the coast and moving into the same areas. Could see that again in the northeast today. Got to watch out for that, and we do have a flash flood risk because of that as well. Now, moving this further ahead into time, I think as we go through this afternoon, some drier air should work in and the rain should become more scattered in nature and not be quite as impactful overall speaking, but still, bringing rainfall through the afternoon as well as those high winds. Now, as we go into this evening, about the time the sun is setting, most of the precipitation should be working off into Canada, but then here comes that very cold air on the backside of the storm system, bringing with it widespread areas of snow showers and even snow squalls. So again, we're going to see some very heavy snowfall rates as well on the backside as the system pulls away. Now, take a look at the wind gusts to come. Again, it's been very gusty along the coastline, especially through Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Long Island this morning. As we go into this afternoon, expect those winds to continue to crank up along the coastline through those same general areas, but also working into sections of Massachusetts and coastal Maine as well going into this afternoon and even into this evening. You'll notice those winds continuing to work on through. Now, by the time the sun's going down, winds should begin to die down. Still gusty for sure, but not nearly as bad as what we likely saw this morning and are currently seeing out there before the wind once again kind of picks up going into tomorrow afternoon. Again, not as bad as today, but breezy. And then things should really calm down going into our Wednesday, luckily. We should have a much nicer middle of the week ahead. All right, we do also want to talk about wind gusts further south as well into the mid-Atlantic. Again, we are still seeing wind advisories and even high wind warnings down into this area, and here's why. Look at some of these winds into the North Carolina mountains, again, gusting up into that 60, even close to 70 mile an hour range, and still seeing gusts in the 40 to 50 mile an hour range up into the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia here. As I move this through this afternoon, those winds will continue to crank, and even going into this evening, some of those stronger winds getting past the Appalachia chain and even getting into kind of the foothills and Piedmont of the Carolinas. So once again, that's why we have wind advisories even outside of the mountains here, and also seeing that up into the DMV area of Virginia and Maryland, some of those gusty winds. Now, the good news is, as we go into the overnight and into tomorrow morning, those winds should begin to die down. And again, Tuesday afternoon looks much calmer in this part of the country as we begin to dry out and we have a bit of nicer weather, although definitely cooler as well. And we'll take a look at temperatures here later on in the video. All right, one thing I did forget to mention that I was going to talk about earlier, I'll talk about it really quickly here. Rainfall to come here in the Northeast. Again, I think widespread 1 to 3 inches, but isolated spots, especially up here into Maine and the higher terrains of New Hampshire and Massachusetts, could still see 3 to 4 inches of rain, especially if we get some of those storms to kind of roll over the same areas throughout the rest of today. Alrighty, so that's kind of what's left of the nor'easter. Let's take a look now at the snowfall to come and kind of time that out for you as we go through this afternoon and evening, and even a little bit of snow tomorrow as well. Alright, so here we go. Right now, again, we are seeing some of those bands of snow coming off of the Great Lakes and into Michigan. Likely a lot of you seeing that snowfall into the UP and even down into Michigan itself. That area of snow will continue to work off towards the south and east today, getting into Indiana, Ohio, and even sections of Kentucky and West Virginia, starting to get in on some of those heavier snow showers and again, even snow squalls. So if you don't know what I mean by snow squalls, it's pretty much imagine a thunderstorm in the wintertime is what it is. You can, kind of subtract the lightning a little bit from it, but it's just, it looks like thunderstorms are rolling through, but instead it's snow falling. We see this very often off of the Great Lakes where we have a lot of heat content left with that cold air rushing over it, and that allows for this rising motion and almost convective motion in nature, leading to these snow squalls in these regions. So again, that's why we have those winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. Impacts are going to definitely be there from these as they roll on through this afternoon, again through much of Ohio, Indiana, eastern Kentucky, and West Virginia. Now, as we go into this evening, those snow squalls working into the Appalachia chain from North Carolina up through Virginia, West Virginia, even into western Pennsylvania there, seeing some of that snow working on through, and that likely to continue into the overnight with still leftover snow showers. Even by the time we're hitting midnight tonight, you'll notice widespread snow still ongoing and even working now into sections of New England and the Northeast from New York State into Pennsylvania. Now, I will mention here, not much snow likely to make it kind of into the I-95 corridor, but don't rule it out. It's definitely a possibility that we'll watch out for. I think if we do see snow in places like Philadelphia, New York, and Boston, likely not going to accumulate too much, but could definitely be festive. With all the Christmas decorations up, I'm sure a lot of folks wouldn't mind seeing that. But I think most of the impacts from the snow likely to be into the higher elevations and out into sections of, again, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. Also, a different story here along the Great Lakes from kind of Cleveland up through Buffalo. Could see some impacts, including travel impacts as well, out of the storm system. All right, again, moving this into tonight and into early tomorrow morning, you'll notice again, this is when we might have the chance at some of those flurries making their way up into portions of the Northeast here, from New Jersey up into Connecticut, western Massachusetts, down into eastern Pennsylvania. Again, could see some snow showers work on through during the early morning hours of tomorrow, just not likely amounting to much before most of that precipitation cuts off and drier air moves in for our Tuesday afternoon. All right, let's take a look now at some of these snowfall totals and give you a general idea of how much snow is left to come. Again, a lot of snow has already fallen and will continue to fall here into northern and northeastern Indiana and into the southwestern shores of Michigan. Likely storm totals near half a foot in this region. So if you've already picked up 1, 2, 3 inches, you've got about another 2 to 3, maybe even 4 inches or so coming. As for the UP of Michigan, I think most of your snow has probably already fallen by the time you're watching this, but still could see another couple of inches in isolated spots. Same story for the northwestern shores there of Michigan as well. All right, now moving this down off towards the south and east a little bit. Again, we're going to have some real winners in terms of snowfall totals down here. One kind of here into, let me draw in the right areas. Just realized my pen is offset a little bit. Sorry about that. Let's try this one more time. There we go. Sorry, the pin is offset from this monitor and the recording software. So if I've been drawing in weird places, sorry. Anyway, kind of up here into the Great Lakes region and the shorelines of Ohio up through Pennsylvania and New York, could still see, again, upwards of half a foot of snow out of this. But 3 to 5 inches is probably a more likely bet in terms of more of those widespread impacts. For you folks down into West Virginia and into the higher terrains of North Carolina, specifically northern sections of North Carolina. Again, a good dumping of snow likely to still come here out of this storm system, upwards of half a foot, especially in those higher terrains of West Virginia. Lower totals down into the North Carolina mountains, where I think 1 to 3 inches will be more likely, with isolated spots getting upwards of 3 to 5. All right, moving this off over towards the northeast a little bit. Again, I think upstate New York's got a good shot at some snow. Also, higher terrains of Vermont and New Hampshire could see some snow out of this. But lesser totals up here, 1 to 3 inches, isolated spots of 3 to 5, not out of the question. And then as you get further south, kind of here into Pennsylvania, a dusting upwards of an inch possible here as those snow showers move through overnight. Again, I will mention, you'll notice along the I-95 corridor, nothing showing up here on our accumulation map. So again, travel impacts will be quite limited there. It'll be more of a festive kind of scene if anything does fall from the sky. So definitely pulling for you folks to maybe get some wintry weather out of this. I just don't think it looks super likely at this point in time. All right, let's kind of move this ahead a little bit and talk about temperatures this week. You'll notice with that snow coming today, all of that is part of a big cold blast. And look at these very cold temperatures working in through much of the southeastern United States and into the mid-Atlantic through today and tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be a downright cold day through much of the southeastern United States as this cold air swings on through. Now, if you're a fan of cold weather, don't get too used to it, because going later into this week, closer towards Christmas, a big warm-up comes for much of the central part of the country. The East Coast will try to hang on to those colder temperatures through the week, but still, I think likely moderating a little bit as the week goes on, before we get into kind of Christmas weekend ahead here, and we've got a big-time heat wave ongoing in the Great Plains and more average temperatures back out through the East Coast. And then as we go further into December, we'll see what happens, but there's some conflicting kind of things in our models that we'll have to kind of iron out here. All right, one more thing I will talk about here before I end this video off and, get back to or let you all get back to whatever it might be that you have planned today, is kind of the pattern overall to end out the year. Again, we've had 2 storm systems that have been really big so far in December. I think as we move ahead, we're going to get a bit of a lull this week. I think nicer weather, whether that be warmer than average or cooler than average, depending on where you're at, still nicer and clearer. Now, going into the Christmas time frame, there are some signs a storm system will likely come out of kind of the Pacific here, and that could bring some unsettled impacts as that moves across the southern tier of the country, and we'll definitely watch for that going through the Christmas time frame. And I think just after Christmas, there's a pretty good signal here that we could get another storm system, potentially an impactful one, here in through sections of the southeastern United States. And we'll definitely watch to see what impacts that may bring. Could be wintry, could be rainy. We'll definitely have to watch and see. But nonetheless, definitely a signal for some type of storm here to end out the month, and we'll monitor that. All right, well, it has been a crazy week here. As you can imagine, I'm quite tired from, really going nonstop all week here doing this. And I still had finals earlier this week, and I also have another job that I have, do have to pay off the bills, if you will. So it's been a crazy week, and storm chasing yesterday really quite drained me as well. Now, what I will say is I probably, again, will have a video of some compilation from all of that flooding footage I took yesterday. That could be out today. That may be later this week. We'll just have to wait and see. But I personally am excited for a bit of a quiet period coming up ahead. Kind of catch up on some much needed rest. As you can tell, I can't even talk anymore at this point. That's kind of week we're having. Anyway, though, again, hope you all have a great rest of your Monday, and hopefully you have a wonderful start to your week. And I'll see you all tomorrow.